Hi folks, and welcome to Mad Maps, a plugin for non-destructive level creation in Unity. Today I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of how to use world stamps to create your level, as well as an overview of the terrain wrapper system. I'm going to try and give you an idea of exactly what Mad Maps is for, why it's different to existing terrain tools, and how it can work for you in your terrain and level creation pipeline. So one of the trickiest parts of building large open world levels is that with the Unity terrain it's very difficult to work non-destructively. Now what do I mean by non-destructively? Well, I mean that if you want to go back in your terrain pipeline, say to change the procedural elements before you started handcrafting and polishing your level, you lose all the work that you did in that handcrafting. So you can work entirely within a procedural terrain generator like Gaia or MapMagick, or there's loads of them on the asset store, but eventually you're going to want to really design your world. You're going to want to get into the nitty-gritty and apply some hand polish into that world, put in towns and roads and specifically placed natural features. So Mad Maps is an interface between all of your existing terrain tools, which allows you to mesh them together in a way that means you can take the best of everything. You can have the procedural, you can have the tool sets, you can have the hand polish, and you never have to be afraid of losing any work. So today we're not going to look directly at integration with other procedural toolkits. We'll save that for a later date. We're also not going to address creating world stamps. You can check that out in my previous video, which I'll link in the description. Okay, I've got a terrain here that I've generated procedurally. Now I'm pretty happy with this base, but I want to place some handcrafted elements that I've put into world stamps in a different level onto this level to really make it exactly the area I want it to be. So pretty much all I have in the scene right now is my terrain, some objects, just some rocks on these cliffs, and some stamps which we're going to use later, which are currently just disabled. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the terrain and we're going to add a terrain wrapper component. The terrain wrapper is a system for capturing, blending, and applying different layers of terrain data. It's pretty similar to a piece of image editing software like Photoshop. We have different layers that blend and combine into one final thing, in this case the terrain. So what we're going to do here is create our first layer just by pressing the plus button here. We're going to add a terrain layer, and let's just call that our base layer. Alright, so I won't go exactly into what everything on this screen means. It's all in the documentation, but basically what we're going to want to do is capture all the information that's currently on the terrain and put that into this layer. And so what we can do to do that is just hit the update button, and that's going to get all the information including prefabs, trees, splats, grass, and just put all that into this layer and capture it. Okay, so we can see it's all captured. We can preview the information here. Let's look at the height map. Yep, that looks all correct. Okay, so now I've locked all this information in. Let's test this out. Let's screw it a little bit. Let's delete all our objects. Let's open up the editor here. Let's paint some crappy splats. Let's screw with the height map kind of thing. Okay, so we're a lot worse than we were before. I don't really like this nearly as much, so let's revert it. Let's go back to where we were before. We can just select the base layer, just click apply, and bam, we're right back to where we were before. Pretty good. Alright. We can also save the layer into an asset. Currently it's just living in the scene. That's pretty good if you want to save file size kind of thing of your actual scene object. Doesn't matter too much. Okay, so now we have our base layer set up, and that information is now like secure and we can go back to it any time. Let's start doing some handcrafting. I'm going to use some weld stamps that I've set up previously and just make some cool little features in this level. So let's start off with this little mine stamp, and that's going to put a little like mineral mine entrance on the side of this mountain here. So let's select the stamp, we enable it, and now I'm not going to cover exactly what everything in the inspector means, but it's in the documentation, but it's here that we tell the stamp how it should blend in with the layers below it. What it should do with the trees in this space, the objects, the grass, the splats, that kind of thing. Okay, and when we want to actually stamp this, press this button here, stamp layer features. This layer name features is what we define here. And what that's going to do is going to go to the terrain wrapper, create a new layer called features, or use the one that's already there if there's a layer called features there. Get all the stamp information, write it into that stamp layer, and then reapply the terrain. So let's see that in action now by hitting stamp layer features. Alright, cool. So we've got a little mine entrance now. It's looking pretty good. It's got a bunch of objects. It's written some grass, written some trees, flattened out the height map, and removed everything that was there before. Even written some splats here. Alright, looking pretty good. So let's look at some other stamps. I want to make this hill over here. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. So let's just give that a preview. So what this is, it's a hill I've made in another scene. It's got like rocks on it and a big radio tower on top. So I'm just going to stamp that in. Alright, cool. So you can see here, it's going to turn the preview off. You can see here now we've got like a radio tower in this rocky area. And this is all information that was just in the stamp. If we want to, we can just move that around, we can rotate it, just restamp it. Get things exactly how we want it. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, just gonna enable some more stamps I've got over here. Let's do a bit of different stuff. Stamp all these now. Okay, so we can see that this stamp here, all this stamp does is sets the splats, doesn't do anything else, because we don't tell it to. So it sets the splat map, but keeps the heights, keeps the trees. So you can just paint like little interesting bits of splat, and just stamp those down and not change any of your other information if you want to. Or we've got this stamp here. So this stamp flattens out an area, places these objects, places some trees, places some grass, and paints this splat in. And this one over here just paint some splats, paint some grass, places these little fence post objects. And these little areas were just made in a different scene, and now you can just use them whenever you want, however you want. You can rotate them, reapply them. And it just works. Alright. So for a bit more of a complex case, let's look at these two stamps over here. We've got these two stamps, and you can see that they're two mountains, but they're intersecting. So Mad Maps can actually resolve this intersection intelligently. We haven't actually stamped these yet. You can see the preview kind of gives you an idea of what they're going to look like when we do stamp them. But yeah, Mad Maps can resolve this intersection because we've got the stamps. Their height blend mode is set to max. And what that is going to mean is that it's going to blend with at every point, the stamp that writes the highest height is going to win. And it's going to be able to place its trees and objects and all that other stuff wherever it wants. So we can see that it's going to intersect pretty nicely. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so we can kind of see that, yeah, we've got this mountain here, and it kind of intersects with this one. You just blend nicely, as you would expect, like you're adding the volumes together. Alright, voila. Okay, now let's say I want to actually go back to this first layer that I had. I'm not happy with it. I want to change some of the things that were originally put in that base layer. I want to go backwards in the pipeline. So I can do that pretty easily just by selecting my terrain wrapper. Just disable this layer that we made here, this features layer which all these stamps live on. Just reapply. They all go away, but they're still living in this layer. They can come back anytime we want. So we've got this base layer now that we can just edit, and say I just want to get rid of some of these trees here. There's too many trees in the middle. I'm not happy with it. Okay, so once I'm happy with that now, I can go and just update this layer again. Reduce the amount of trees. Re-enable this layer above it. And just restamp all the stamps. We can see that it just works with the new information, stamps it all down, works pretty well. Alright. So, that's about all we've got time for right now, but hopefully this has given you just a taste of how powerful this system can be. We really only just scratched the surface of how much it lets you break up your levels, put them into modular little manageable components, work separately from your main scene, and iterate on individual features. And really just makes the level creation process a million times easier. You're building them out of these building blocks that you can be iterating on, versioning, letting other people in your team work on. Once you work with this process, it's really flexible and amazing, and it's hard to go back. So I think this could help you build your levels, and if you agree, check out the description for information about how to get this toolset. Cheers!